Hey everybody, it's State Representative Jim Nash, and we wanted to put this film together for you to talk to the different brewers, to talk about the value of freeing the growler from their perspective, the things that they have done, the successes that they've seen from many of the beers that you see in front of you, and why growlers matter to them. I think you'll see what I see and so many see, that freeing the growler is going to expand experimentation, it's going to find new beers to bring to people in Minnesota, and it's going to give these folks the competitive advantage that they need. We are asking the major brewers here in the state of Minnesota this one question. Tell us about the one brew that you made that went gangbusters, and how allowing people to taste it in a growler impacted its growth, and how removing the growler cap can positively impact your ability to do that again and again and again.
When we started 10 years ago in 2011 in a little garage in Castle Danger, we decided to brew a cream ale, and that was something that no one else was doing in Minnesota. We sold it in growlers out of our little 700 square foot garage, and people kept asking for it and asking for it and asking for it. The cream ale is our #1 seller. We would not be here today without Castle Cream Ale, and without the growler, we would not be where we are today. With growlers, it's something that allows any craft brewery to experiment, test out new recipes without all the investment of a can design and labeling and the huge investment that it takes to put a beer into a can.
A lot of people know Surly Darkness as a beer, and it's kind of synonymous with the Surly brand. We were able to sell growlers, 14 years ago, and that's when we launched that beer. I hand numbered all the bottles. We sold 500 bottles, 750s. It's all something that grew organically, and I think to me that's such a big part of beer culture and growlers, is this organic growth of people being excited about things that you're making, beers that you're brewing. And like, we built a whole community, a whole culture. I think we're integral in building some of that early Minnesota craft beer culture. And it was through Darkness Day. Like, it all happened because of Darkness Day, because we sold beer at the brewery in growlers.
One of our kind of mainstay beers at the brewery is our Shell's Firebrick. And in the past, what we've had to do is kind of come out with a seasonal brand. Our Snowstorm which is different every year, and it gives us the ability to try something new out with consumers, see, test the market, see how they like it, and then if the consumer is really drawn to it, then we have to go back and then create essentially a year-round. And now the Firebrick is one of our core brands, and we essentially thrive off that brand. So by having a growler opportunity now, it essentially gives us the opportunity to try that more often than just a large-scale seasonal. You get to try to do small batches and things like that, and you get that direct consumer feedback almost immediately.
300, it's one of our favorite IPAs. It's a West Coast style IPA, and it commemorates the 300th batch that we brewed on our brewery. And that was a beer that took a little bit of this and a little bit of that. It wasn't really thought out ahead of time, and everybody loved it. But the thing that allowed us to do it was we knew that no matter how it turned out, good or bad, we had a place to go with that beer. It was never going to go down the drain, and where it was going to go was in growlers. That beer since has grown, and has been brought to distribution. It's been awarded one of the best IPAs in Minnesota. It's been on national lists. And we don't brew beers for awards, but that's a beer that people wouldn't be enjoying and consuming from their liquor stores, at their restaurants, at their kitchen table, if growlers hadn't allowed that beer to be brewed.
Daytripper is sort of the story of Indeed. When we opened up the brewery in 2012, we were only a tap room to start. We had the production brewery set up and ready to go, but we weren't ready to start distributing beer yet. And that was the beer that people really connected with. And they came to the tap room and they tried it here, or they bought a growler and they took it home. That caused the growth that happened in Indeed. We're certainly at this juncture right now, the pandemic has shown us this, that we are questioning if we want to exceed that growler cap. If that growler cap remains in place, we may stop growing, which means less jobs, less increased tax revenue for the state, less revenue for us, and we're hand-tied. We want to grow, we want to do new things, and every time we have an idea, we turn around and it's illegal. We need common sense and the laws that allow breweries to actually grow. The people I trust the most are our customers, and the best way to find out what they're thinking is to sell growlers and crawlers to them.
Our first beer was Farm Rural Saison, and it was our most popular beer. However, we started an innovation process where we're making new beers and trying them out in the tap room. And one of those was Mango Blonde. So we did that, released it in the tap room and draft only. And consumers started trying it, and the phone started ringing, and people are like, hey, I really love that beer. And actually now, Mango Blonde is our top seller. Having growlers to go really is important for our innovation process. So we need to be able to experiment with those batches, put it in growlers, get consumer feedback.
You've heard some really important stuff. You've heard why these brewers need to have the ability to sell growlers. And you've heard the individual stories of their success beers. You've maybe seen for yourself why this is important. The takeaways that I would really like you to have is that this is a very minor change to our statutes that will allow these brewers to meet the needs of their customers. They will be enabled to sell growlers, that experimentation piece that we've all talked about. And I hope the success stories that you've heard of those individual test beers that they weren't quite sure were gonna work out have blossomed into huge successes. So I hope this documentary has driven home those points. If you have questions, reach out to me. If you have questions, reach out to your state representative or your senator and ask them to help free the growler.